Wow. And so you got teased a lot in high school. Was it high school when you were getting teased? That must have been tough because, when we're teenagers and in high school, that can be really, really a tough time where kids can be cruel. So, how did you hang on to that, your passion, and keep going, even though you were getting bullied? That's great. And that's another one of your key messages is for kids is to have that support team and to really pick your friends. And I remember that conversation when I did your interview for your story. And I thought that was really, a really valuable point because a lot of kids feel like they have to do it alone, you know? And it's so important to have that support. So, yeah, so now you're what, 6'7"? Is that right? 6'7", yeah, 6'7", um, athlete who is right. Well, I mean, wow, that's tall, and that's amazing. This big, brawny athlete with this beautiful voice that I think you could be an opera. I mean, that Ave Maria just sends chills on me. I really love that, and I know my mom, my 90-year-old mom was just like drawn into my office when she heard "Oh Holy Night." Um, so I'm really excited about that. And you have this wonderful tour coming up, and tell us about that. This is so exciting. This is such a big, big thing. Yes. Uh-huh. That's wonderful. And everyone, we're going to get into the NFL experience of Ben's career, but let's listen. Let's listen to him sing right now. I have a video for you to watch. You won't believe it. It's amazing. And that was incredible, Ben. That must have been that was the Monroe Symphony Orchestra that you played with. Is that? Oh, that's so perfect, isn't it? That's perfect. Well, I'm sure our viewers would love to hear a little bit about your road to the NFL, and I know that your plans were you were tested somewhat when you were in college. Your faith was tested because I know you're a very spiritual man. When you had some injuries, and do you want to tell that story about your transition from college to the NFL? Wow. Ooh. Oh my. That's so amazing. Right. That's a no, 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 no. That's a great story. I mean, it's really, it is a miracle story. I agree with you, and it's just you don't hear stories like that often enough. And Tony Dungy is someone that the whole world really looks up to, and this is an example why. I mean, he is filled with integrity. He's incredible. It must have been amazing working with him. For 3 years? 4 years? You were connected with him? Yeah, I've always admired him, and I remember that 4 years. Do you stay in touch with him? Do you, that's great. That's great. Oh, right. That's great. That's great. And you talk about the fire and the refinement because I remember. Can you just say a little bit more about that? Because you went. That was like a time when you went through the fire, and I remember that whole analogy that you used with that in the refinement with the metals and all of that. Can you share that with our viewers? No, no. So when adversity shows up for you, Ben, you know, early on, do you just start to believe that something great will come from it and that you will grow and your life will be enhanced? I mean, what is your process with that? Because that's pretty, very evolved of you to, the way you do that. It sounds like early on, right when it hits you. That's wonderful, and you also, what I'm also hearing is you don't push away the anger. You also allow yourself to feel that or frustration, whatever the emotion it is, so you can, move through it and grow. Is that correct? It, so I heard that in addition to asking yourself those empowering questions, how am I going to handle this and I'm going to get the best of this, is that you also allow early on yourself to actually experience whatever the negative feelings are versus push them under the rug and have them build up. Because I think that's really important point too. Um, Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Um, and then your concussions. I mean, we hear so much about concussions with the players. Is it correct? Did you experience five? Did I remember that right, Ben? Five concussions. That's amazing. And do you think it is changing? Mm-hmm. So hopefully they'll stay on that path and really make a difference because it's so critical. It's so so critical. And my goodness. So another thing about you that I remember so well, and you just mentioned it a little while ago about the importance of being vulnerable and how you have such a desire to touch people when with your singing on the platform. You have this wonderful platform from being an NFL player and now a musician, and you really are compelled to share your story and be vulnerable. Can you say a little bit more about that? Because I think that's very inspiring. So real. Really. Mm-hmm. You're living your values because connection is such a big part of who you are. So that must be so fulfilling for you. That's awesome. Unfortunately, not enough people have that kind of support growing up, and it's really great that you want to use that as a gift to others. Because I remember you saying you want to inspire youth. To create a more loving world. Um, whether it's through your sports or through your music, and I think that's great, Ben. It sounds like you're so much on purpose of why you came here on Earth. Right. Huge. Right. Absolutely. And you can just say something that could really touch them forever to really impact them. And that's so important. And what I noticed, Ben, is, when I first, before I even started Insightful Player, I did a lot of research, and I found out there were many more guys like you that people didn't know about it. It's just that you guys were under the radar, and you were out there doing good in your communities. And so we just need to give all of you guys a much bigger voice. And Insightful Player wants to help you with your platform. Not that you probably need any help at all, because you're doing quite fine on your own. You know, accomplished athlete, and you're well on your way to be an accomplished musician. So thank you for the work you're doing. You're a wonderful role model. That's great. That's great. I learned that lesson from my mom, who I'm so fortunate I still have. She's 90, and she lives with us. And she always told me, like when I was going through that, that middle, junior high age, and you're awkward, and anytime I was feeling sorry for myself or something, she always said, "Go out into the neighborhood and do something nice for someone. You won't believe how great you'll feel." And she always sent me out, and it just made such an impact on my life. And she was so wise, and I can't get over how much that helped me. It was wonderful. So it's the same kind of. It will be second nature if we just stretch a little bit. I think that we can adopt that, and it can become more cellular, because it totally changed our perspective on ourselves when we're helping others like that. It's wonderful. I don't think there's any greater feeling than that, really. You know. So, is there anything else you'd like to share tonight, Ben? Okay. Um, I mean, I just want to know what it's like for you, um, to, anticipating this wonderful tour you have coming up. I mean, my gosh, that is like a dream come true. I mean, this is huge. I mean, how many cities are you going to? A couple of dozen? I mean, it's a lot. You're going to be all over the country. This is another dream come true for Ben Utek. I bet. I bet. Always. Nice. Wow. The Patriots, that's my team. But yeah, and you're a perfect example. Since get go. So so it's another example where back when I met you, you were discouraged because of the concussions, and I know everyone that loves you is probably happy that you left the NFL, because that's so serious, and your attitude, even though you were discouraged, you had that hope. And by stoking that fire that you always do, look what you created. I mean, it's wonderful. You're a wonderful inspiration for everyone who's out there watching. If a door has slammed on you, you know, take that whole Ben Utek approach and just say, okay, I'm going to be better than this, and trust that something grand will come out of it for you. It always does if you trust. I think Norman Vincent Peale said something to the effect is, in direct proportion as you trust, you will reap. I always love that quote of his, because it bailed me out many times when I didn't have any reason to trust, and it really made a difference. So that's a great thing that you model, that trusting. Really is. So I hope all of you will go to benutek.com or Benjamin. You can actually use either address, right? Benjamin Utek, and we have his address right here on the screen. Yeah. And listen to his beautiful CD. Check out the calendar of events where he's coming to your city. So he's, as they said in one of the articles, he has a Super Bowl ring on one hand and a microphone in the other. And I bet you take people by surprise. It's kind of nice. That stereotype thing, I think you can have a lot of fun with that as you tour around. And I'd love for everyone to hear Ben sing again. That's great. Well, how we're going to leave everyone is I'm going to play the video of the national anthem that Ben sang for NASCAR. It's pretty dramatic, and the reason why I chose that one is you can see you the best of all the other, because Ben has performed in front of a lot of baseball teams as well, and in front of the both Bush presidents as well. Haven't you? Didn't you perform in front of the Bush president, both of them, on separate occasions? All right, everyone. Well, I bet. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Well, that's great. Anything you want to say before I turn on your national anthem, NASCAR? Any parting words, Ben? Okay, okay. Well, you'll have my support, and I think a lot of people are going to be behind you with this because you're so talented. And thank you so much for coming on, and I'll be in touch. And you have a wonderful rest of your summer, Ben. Thanks a lot. And everybody tune in next week, we'll be back with Damian Vaughn, who also played for the Bengals. Yes. All right. So have a great week, everyone. I'm going to leave you with this amazing anthem. It's amazing. Wait till you hear this. Wow, that was fabulous, Ben Utek. We're all going to be behind you. Can't wait for that album to come out in October. So thank you for coming on tonight. And I will be going to your website before the weekends to pre order my CD. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. And thank you again, Ben. And come. Yeah, and everybody will see you back here next week with Damian Vaughn, and he'll have some great stories to tell you too. And he also played for the Bengals and for the Buccaneers. So have a great week, everyone, and keep remembering to keep positive. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Good night.